What's going on, football fans? It's me, J.R. Clark, back again with another breaking news. No, not really breaking news. But today we did get the official announcement of Terry Fontenot as our GM, which is really cool to see. I know a lot of us have been waiting on that, waiting on the official word. That came early this morning. Not exactly sure what the holdup was. We saw tweets about, possibly working out contract negotiations still going on, but obviously it was not much of a major hurdle as we were able to officially announce the hire of Terry Fontenot as our new general manager. And that fully ushers in a new era of the Fontenot-Smith partnership. And that's the way it's being billed to us, is a partnership. When in their separate interviews, supposedly, I don't know exactly what else you're supposed to say, but supposedly in their interviews, when Fontenot was asked about his coaching candidates, Arthur Smith was high on his list. And when Smith was asked about his GM candidates, Fontenot was high on his list. Now that comes from Rich McKay, so you can take that with a proverbial grain of salt if you so want to. But we did get to have their press conferences today, and in those press conferences you had, Arthur Smith talking about holding players accountable for, their play on the field, and talking about having to, potentially adjust his scheme to the players that he has here, which that I was excited to hear. That made me feel good. Him acknowledging that he didn't have Derick Henry here, and you weren't going to just find another Derick Henry in the draft. I know it's easy for us, talking heads, whether it's on the professional level or the amateur level, to start plugging and playing with players, saying, oh, well, this can be, this guy's this or this guy's that. I mean, we did that with Dan Quinn and the Legion of Boom, as far as oh, well, Ricardo Allen's going to be his, Earl Thomas, and he just drafted his Cam Chancellor. And we're going to do that with Smith, but it was nice to hear that Smith, addressed that right out the rip. Also talking about saying that he's looking forward to working with Matt Ryan. There was no guarantees whether, Matt Ryan was going to be here or not. I know some people are looking for that going into this offseason. That wasn't necessarily the case, but, he did say all the necessary things. I know that there was some, not Bleacher Report, but Blog and Dirty ran an article talking about Arthur Smith was already off to a shaky start because he seemed like he was nervous in his, initial interview. But you got to think, man, this is not a typical interview. He's doing this across a Zoom chat, so to speak. And so, when was the last time somebody won a press conference and then went on and actually did things? For them to talk about his tenure already off to a shaky start was kind of bush league to me, in my opinion. Not like I'm any kind of professional, but it really did speak to almost their lack of credibility, I guess you could say. Which they got lit up for it on Twitter, and sometimes there's no such thing as bad press kind of deal. Maybe it was a deal where, they knew it was going to ruffle some feathers and they ran with it anyway. But enough about them. Then we got into Terry Fontenot's press conference. And I'll have to admit, this is the first time I've really got to listen to Terry Fontenot speak. I really enjoyed listening to him. He sounded more personable, I guess you could say, than TD did. And I loved his recount with, talking about the relationship that he had with Von McClure. That was a really interesting, because myself being as low level and nothing, so to speak, as I am, Von McClure took his time to, direct, DM me on Twitter on a handful of occasions, and that was always nice. I know he was real quick to block people, but he also, helped me out and pointed me in different directions, which was something that he definitely didn't have to do. So it was nice to hear him recount that about Von McClure. You know, he was asked, Fontenot was asked, you know, from a Saints perspective, watching the Falcons as long as he has, you know, what stood out. And he didn't want to get into a ton of details, but he did call out the wide receiver group as being, you definitely knew that the Falcons had elite wide receivers. So that was, you know, interesting to hear. Interesting to hear that he didn't want to get into any details. Obviously, you know, first day on the job, you know, maybe that was something that he didn't necessarily think was a good idea. And I tweeted out earlier that I hope he brought some of that cap voodoo, and my guy Jimmy Slice over there, Jimbo, you know, coined up underneath it, talking about calling him a, you know, voodoo doctor or a witch doctor. He's gonna have to bring some voodoo with this cap there, you know, which we're gonna get into as the season progresses. But it was really nice to hear Fontenot and Arthur finally speak. We're gonna have to come up with a catchy nickname for Arthur. We had Smitty for Mike Smith. Don't necessarily want to use Smitty again. We had DQ, obviously, for Dan Quinn, and TD. You know, I don't know if TF really flows that well. Maybe we call him, you know, Art and T. I don't know. We'll figure it out as the season goes on. But I'm super excited for the start of, you know, this new era, and especially, you know, with the GM, because he was talking about, you know, his drafting practices or philosophy. You know, I know a lot of y'all will be glad to hear was talking about, like, you know, best player available kind of stuff. So this is going to be a really interesting draft. You know, to have your first draft be number 4 and do you take a quarterback, that's a big one to start off with. But I'm super excited. And also a reminder, folks, our live stream will be Wednesday night, tomorrow night, 7:30. Another reason why I'm recording this, to remind y'all. And we have a special treat for this upcoming live stream on Wednesday. Really hope y'all show up for it. I think it's really going to blow y'all away. I can't wait. I'm excited. And yeah, I got a film study coming up on Thursday for Arthur Smith's scheme for the Falcon Eye View series. I'll be taking a closer look at Arthur's scheme. I know you've been seeing it popping up here and there, so I hope by the time mine comes out, you're not too tired of seeing it. But I'm going to try to give you a different perspective and a different take. As always, Falcons fans, you can follow me on Twitter. I'm at Grimm1128. That's GRIMM1128. And rise up.